Hey guys, how you doing today? It's me, Kelly. So today, I'm going to do a quick video about Mod Podge. Now, I'm going to be using my Mod Podge Matte to glue down this. But I want to talk about Mod Podge for a second. I always use Mod Podge Matte. And you can see this bottle, I just keep refilling it and refilling it. I probably should get a new bottle. But on here, this is a question I get quite a bit. This is a water-based sealer, glue, and finish. Now, let me just talk about this for a second. Mod Podge is, you can get it in matte, you can get it in gloss, you can get it in all kinds of different glitters and finishes. You can get it in a spray, you can get it in fabric, paper. I mean, you can get it all over. A lot of us, though, however, are always using the Mod Podge matte or gloss, the old school, you know, one. But a lot of you have problems. You guys write me and say, I don't understand why you use this. It's sticky. It's this when it's dry. All these things. So I wanted to address that for a second. And I wanted to tell you my experience and what I do. And what this can be used for. You don't always have to buy all the new out, you know, new items out. Or if you have this, you can use this instead of the Mod Podge paper or fabric or what have you. Now, having said that, I love Mod Podge paper and fabric. You guys have seen me on my video use it 1,000 times. But we're going to talk about this today. So, Mod Podge Matte. What I like to use it for is obviously as a glue. Now, let's just go in. And I apologize if you can hear my dogs in the background. I never can get away from them. They like to wrestle and fight and, well, not hurt each other, fight, you know what I mean. So when you're doing this to to glue anything down, always get those edges because, I mean, obviously you want all of it. Now I'm using this as a backdrop. I don't care. It dries clear. It doesn't bother anything for me, but of course you can be neat. But if you're on my channel, you know, I'm not neat. I just like to get stuff done. And it, like I said, it dries clear, so it doesn't matter to me. And then I'm going to put this like this. I might go in with some Treasure Gold in like a rose color to go around it, or I might not. Now, what I'll do with these extra glue that you can see right there, I'll just go over it and kind of blend it in. I'm going to make sure I get that middle good on all these, especially when you're gluing down a face, or, you know, sometimes I'll draw like little dolls or whatever and put it on. You know, you always want to make sure you get all that. You can use your fingers, just make sure it's not too dry and it doesn't drag, which it will do if it starts to dry. Okay. So I have that. That's going to dry 15-20 minutes. Good to go. I can go over it again if I want. Now, what's good is I can use I get this asked a lot too. What else can you do dimensional magic with? I use this as faux resin. You can fill up your little lockets and all with it. Or when this is fully dry, like I'll say a half hour, I'll take this, do not shake it. It'll make bubbles. And then I can put it all around here and that makes it look like it's glass almost, right? Okay. Now, you guys say, oh, you know, stickiness. Okay, so let's say you're in an area where you have a little bit higher humidity. You might have that tackiness. It could be with anything you use, right? Maybe you spray a clear coat or what have you. I don't know. I'm in New Jersey. I don't have too many problems with the stickiness, but when I do, I take a clear coat, polyacrylic or whatever, and I give everything a clear coat real quick. And that dries and that'll cure your stickiness if you have a little bit of tackiness underneath. Also, don't forget, you guys can use this Mod Podge for puzzles. So if you're doing a puzzle, once you get like a little section, you can take this and glue the little pieces down. And when you're done with your puzzle, if you want to save it as a puzzle saver, which Mod Podge does sell puzzle savers, you know, that you can put over, but you can definitely use this as well. Do a thin coat, let it dry 20 minutes, do a couple more thin coats, leave them dry, and you have a really great, you know, puzzle that you saved. No problem. Do a few coats, you know what I mean? You want to fill in the like little boopies, you know, like the little cracks and all. Give it about 20 minutes to dry in between, I say. And if you're in a humid situation, I'd leave it a little bit longer. You've seen me use my heat gun to dry Mod Podge. I don't suggest it. I do it sometimes when I'm on video just to like speed it up. But normally I would let it dry. 20 minutes and then do that. Now, what's cool also is you can use this as a texture kind of thing. So I'm going to get a piece of paper here. And you can take your brush. You can use a foam brush. You know, those foam brushes that you have. And I'm going to lay this down like this. And you can kind of, let's just say like this. Maybe we want some texture on a tree or ground or whatever, hair, it doesn't matter. Which I might do texture on her hair. Leave it 20 minutes, let it dry, and then you can paint over it and you get really great texture underneath if you don't have a texture paste or what have you. Sometimes I will even add in chalk, maybe you have some crushed chalk or baby powder, baking soda, cornstarch even. You can mix it a little bit and get that in there. Now, you can see I put my brush in the water, and then I'll go in here. It just thins it out a little bit. I do that all the time. You can do that as well, but do not add too much water when you're thinning out. I use this sometimes as a pouring medium, right? For me I'm obsessed with acrylic pouring right now. So I ran out of my pouring medium. So I make my own, and I'll use Mod Podge. I'll use a little bit of water to thin it down and so forth, right? But you don't want to add too much because then you'll compromise the construction of the Mod Podge or anything you use, white school glue, whatever. I'm trying to think what the other thing I wanted to tell you was. Oh, so Mod Podge Gloss, let's say you have, or this, maybe you're not a glossy kind of girl. I am. You don't have to be. So when I'm done with this, I can take my Mod Podge thin coat. Remember that. That is something I know, I guarantee you that some of you are doing because I'm heavy-handed. Thick coats, right? I want this to be glossy and protected. Thick coats. No. You want to do thin coats. So take this, do a thin coat, let it dry 20 minutes. Do it again, thin coat, let it dry 20 minutes, especially if you're glossing, right? Another one, thin coat, let it dry. Now, what you can do, I like to let it dry overnight. You can let it dry your half hour or what have you. You can take very fine sandpaper. Maybe I did it and I have a little mush there or something I want to get off. So you can very lightly sand it, right? Sand it very good. You could take even a like 00 sandpaper, you know, like that's almost, you feel it and you're like, what the heck is this? Like a buffing kind of thing, steel wool or whatever, and do it very lightly and get a really beautiful finish on here. And then if you do it and you're like, oh, you know, you can put another thin coat and let it dry. So there are ways to do it. But once you do that, once you do your Mod Podge and all, maybe you don't like the finish, take your little bit of clear coat and put it over it. Leave it dry. There's so many things you can do with Mod Podge, and it doesn't, like I said, make sure you always follow the directions, because I'm not saying you don't get stickiness, because let me tell you, sometimes in my art journal, if I put it on too thick, even though it's dry, it's sticky. So really let it dry. Again, that's pretty much it. I get a lot of questions, you know, about Mod Podge. You can always go on plaidonline.com and search any of their stuff for, you know, more suggestions or what have you. But always read the bottle. Always see what your directions are, because I am hell for that. Like this, for instance, the Mod Podge Dimensional Magic, you're not to shake it. What's the first thing I do? I'm going to shake it. I'm going to get that stuff off the bottom. But guess what? You're not supposed to, because what happens is it makes bubbles. And when it makes bubbles and you go to pour it out, you got bubbles. Nobody wants the bubbles. So, you know, especially if we're using it for resin. And let me show you. I know you guys have seen this a million times. This is my Dimensional Magic. Oh, my dogs. Of course, they choose as soon as I get on here. But you can see, now I'll go and sand this a little bit with a thin, you know, with the fine grit. And you can see here, I over poured. So when I poured this, it went under and it got here. Well, I got to take this off. I'll take my roto zip or whatever, or I'll just come in and fill this in with a little bit more. So this is Dimensional Magic. Look at that. Great. So you don't want to use resin. There's other things out there you can use, but Mod Podge has a great resin. I'm not going to lie. So yeah, so that's all I wanted to come on here. I got a couple more Mod Podge questions the other day, and then somebody had left me a comment on one of my older videos about the Mod Podge and stickiness. And I just want to make sure, like I said, I use this all the time. You guys see me with Mod Podge, and I'm always at, is it sticky? Why is mine sticky? One of the things is you might be putting it on too thick because you want to do very light, you know, very thin coats. You want to let it fully dry so you're not piling wet on wet when it's tacky underneath, because then that air, like, it's not going to dry correctly. And you just want to do, like I said, thin coats and let it dry. I say 30 minutes. I think the bottle might say 20. Let me see, just to make sure. 15, 20 minutes. So, you know, between coats. So, you know, that's what I do. Now, this right here is not sticky. I just used it. All around here, nothing. Not sticky at all, and she's down. So, you know, it depends. Just make sure that you put it on thin and let it fully dry. So, I hope this helped you guys somewhat. Come check me out on Facebook. I'll be sharing plaids going live this week with all new products. So, come check us out over there. I'm going to do a, I'm going to be in the live stream and chat with you guys. And, yeah. So, I love you guys. And as always, please be kind to each other. You never know what battle somebody else is fighting. Any other questions, always ask. Love you guys. See you in my next video. Bye-bye.